we always emphasize on education. But there is a researcher today who is telling us that we are actually missing upon something when the education is emphasized in today's generation. And she goes back to Gurukulam, she goes back to temples as a place of learning. What are we learning today is, what is that actual concept that is being missed in today's education. So let us learn a lot of things that is being missed in our formal education today. Welcome to Info at Honori.
Content ಇಷ್ಟ ಆದರೆ like, share and subscribe ಮಾಡಿ.
Welcome to Info at Honori. Today on our show we have Mrs. Jayashree Ganeshan on our show. She is an education researcher from IBM Academy. Welcome to my show.
Happy to have you here.
Ma'am, I have introduced Mrs. Jayashree Ganeshan as an education researcher. So we understand education, we understand research, but when you merge things together, what does an education researcher do?
Okay. So do we all understand that knowledge is power?
Yes.
Right? And we also are learners for life. And we are constantly learning from anything and everything around us. So research, the word research itself means actually old wine in a new bottle. Research. So you're actually, every time you're educating yourself is when you face a challenge.
Right.
And the minute you face a challenge and you're not able to handle that challenge or wish to handle it better, you go back seeking advice, support, or it could be from people, it could be from the things around you, or it could be from the books. So every challenge actually leads us to go backwards. It kind of tries to help us go to the root cause of the issue. And then the minute we tap into the root cause of the issue, we also realize that if we had done things a little differently or had known this a little before, perhaps we would have responded very differently.
True.
And then we start the corrective measures, right? So this is exactly what educational research is all about. So when you see a youngster out there, in real life, facing certain difficulties, you often wonder, what is it that he missed out in school? What is it that he missed out in college that he is not able to kind of handle this or manage this situation better? Similarly, when you see a person already married and in a relationship and is not able to handle certain things, you're wondering what all those years of schooling and colleging actually did to him. How is it that he is crumbling or she is crumbling at such a small... So
right.
Research helps you go back, find the root cause, plug in those loopholes. When you say education, it's also about how do I then educate people not on a hindsight but beforehand.
Okay.
So mostly we are overcoming our challenges on hindsight, right? We're already there amidst that and we are like hoping we had done things better. But what should we really do so that we don't face that challenge again and again? They always say, right, make new mistakes, don't make the same mistake again and again. So I think education research is all about that.
So how do I understand that this mistake is because of one of the activity that I had not done right before?
Not very difficult. You will either understand it yourself or you will understand it because somebody will point it out to you and said, very simple. You would have heard this 80-20 concept. Like let's say somebody has spilt tea or coffee, and then everybody is rushing to office in the morning. Everybody is very busy at work, and the little child has just spilt coffee or tea, and all of us come down upon that child, as if he's a perpetrator of a huge crime, and that could happen. And then we waste a little more time,
right.
Trying to compose ourselves or get the. But if we are people who've already understood that these are bound to happen, we have a planned routine, yet it is how we remain calm, composed and respond to situations that actually helps us overcome these kind of situations, we would be acting very differently. So definitely every little impact or effect is because of a cause.
Right.
So it's only after we spill all the beans and we shout and scream at each other and then waste a lot of time and then compound the impact of that particular thing towards the end of the day, we realize how stupid we actually have been and how we are reacting more than responding. And then we go back to learning, how do I even respond to situations instead of reacting?
So when should I start learning that I should not react but respond to a situation?
Once again, everybody, has to face the consequence of their action. When you start facing the consequences of your action, whether you like it or not, whether you're defensive or not, whether you're blaming somebody else for all the mistake or not, the consequence of your action is for you to face. And when we are facing the consequences of these very actions, that is when wisdom dawns. So sometimes it is experience,
right,
and sometimes it's through others' experiences. But both ways we get to learn.
Because as they say, you can't experience everything in your own lifetime, so you will have to learn it from the others' mistakes also.
Yeah, from others' experiences also. However, till you experience it, it will be knowledge. But when you experience it, then the realization dawns. So we will also have to wait for certain experiences to happen for us, for the knowledge to blossom.
Wait for the time to time.
Yes, wait for the challenge.
Right. So what paved way for IBM Academy?
So I have been in the field of education right from maybe when I was in standard 3. I used to teach children who were younger than me.
Beautiful.
I somehow knew I would be a teacher by choice, not chance. I did turn out, by the time I was 19 or 20, I was already in education. And when they conducted my very first demo, it was almost as if it was very natural to me. And I got a job in a very, very prestigious institution. Learning never stopped. I was married young. I had a child already when I was 20. But I went on to do my master's in science, and then master's in English, and master's in education, and then continued to study everything that came my way only when my students faced challenges.
Beautiful.
So as this was happening, I got a very rare opportunity to be the cultural ambassador of the country and represent India in Japan. 70,000 participants, 3 of them get shortlisted. The school actually offers to, let me even participate in the interview process, and I actually clinched the deal. Mm-hmm. That became another turning point in my life. When I went there, I realized that the Gurukul system that I believe in learning by doing, sensorial learning, learning from anything and everything around me. I was a very enterprising teacher by nature. I realized that many of the things that we were talking about from our ancient texts were actually practiced there.
Okay.
So it was almost as if the divine had sent me there to say that actually this is possible. It's happening around us. When I returned, I decided I will travel the entire country, and I will actually educate people. And that's when I moved from a single institution to another institution called Easy Vidya, which was steeped into education, research and innovation, and became part of the R&D, became part of the sales, became part of the marketing team, and was traveling the entire country, resolving issues. And what you had asked me first, right, about educational research, I used to be a solution analyst for 3 years, completely looking into what is causing what.
The designations sound so colorful. I'm solution analyst,
Yes.
education researcher, because you're merging a lot of things.
Yes.
And for us to even decode the very nomenclature, it takes time, and you've been doing it for years.
Absolutely. And as I was getting deeper and deeper into it, I was traveling the entire country as a mother of 2 daughters, almost 15 days out of station, and loving it, loving travel, and training a lot of youngsters to take to the field of education, research, innovation, training. That's when I realized that something was amiss in the schools. We were not teaching young people how to learn from anything and everything, interact with anybody and everybody, and also travel.
Yeah.
Travel with a very open mind.
Not everybody loves to travel for work.
Yes.
Be that for a vacation, all of us enjoy.
Absolutely right. So vacation is where everything is planned. Either your parents are footing your bill, or your husband is footing your bill, or if you are really good, you're footing your own bill, but you're also looking at luxury, comfort, what you really want to do, etc. But travel on work is not like that. You will have to go at a stipulated time. You will not be given rest hours. The minute you get off, you will have to get into the...
Right.
This is where I began to see a difference between myself and many of the young people who were traveling with me, and they were way younger, almost 10 to 15 years younger than me, and still would feel so tired when I would feel very charged. So again, education research came into play then. I realized that we are not teaching youngsters how to recharge themselves during the journey to remain charged at the destination.
So how do you teach them?
How do you work? So therefore, how do you travel? What are the habits and the practices that you have to develop while you're traveling? So that you're completely alert and agile, and when you get off that train or the flight, you're ready. You're not in inertia of rest, you're in inertia of motion. So that is what paved way to IBM Academy. I said, I'm going to change the educational tour spectrum of the country. I came with big dreams, walked into schools and said, no, this is not how educational tours should happen. Not all that easy, because they did not have the bigger picture in mind I had.
Because education system has changed so much so that we have confined our education to the syllabus that the government is prescribing.
Perfect.
So it is just that, you read through certain syllabus, you write answers, you just pass out with good marks, flying colors is what they mention. And you walk out. So at the end of the day, we don't look at a child as a person who is growing holistically.
Yeah.
So how does iBeam Academy help children to grow completely?
You've touched a very interesting part actually. So there are about 8 problem statements that I identified. And I started weaving programs to address these 8, because there are a plethora of problems, challenges, but then what is it that I need to address? So I took up 8. What you really touched upon now is one of the 8, where if you notice in most of our schools and colleges, etc., it is only the final year result, the percentage that is displayed.
Yes.
And it is that which is used to market for the school and get the admissions too. And if you really observe, even though systems have changed in between, it took a long time for us. We would still say, hey, I've got 10 or I've got 9. Then you still ask them, did you get a 9.5, 9.8, or did you get closer to 10, or did you get a 9.1? This is, so which means we are very result centric. But interestingly, when we become result centric, we start getting into shortcut modes. Because we know if we have to get there, then these are a few things that we have to do perfectly. It is not necessary to do many other things. So you become very goal centric.
Right.
You become very result centric. But in the process, you miss out the process. And you're not looking at holistic learning. So it should always be process for better results. Because when you defy processes and we skip a few steps and go, those steps are going to hit you later. For instance, I have been completely focused on my grades. I'm a science, I want to master science, I want to master mathematics, I want to get my admission here. And you've completely left out socializing, group work, collaboration, etc. And you land there, and all of a sudden you're pushed into a system where you have to come up with a project where you have to collaborate, etc. It's not going to happen because you have not skilled up yourself for that. You've not even given yourself those kind of experiences. So you're starting afresh there. So somewhere or the other, we are missing out that holistic approach to work. Not easy, but it is not difficult either.
True, because a lot of parents, who have their children in their schooling age, they focus on marks because they only think of what is next, what comes next, how do they excel in their career, how are they placed well, what is the package they earn, once they start working. This is the focus a lot of parents do.
Yeah.
And we have seen schools I mean, there are categories of schools now, wherein some schools focus completely on the syllabus, the learning and the academics, and there are some schools which are coming up with the extracurricular activities also.
Education, yeah. Yeah.
And when parents have to choose, again, that depends upon the choice of parents, because the children are too young to decide upon things. So it is a choice of a mother or a father.
Yeah.
Preferably a father in our scenario, Indian scenario.
I think more mothers these days.
Oh, is
yeah.
this?
Anyway, you'll get to know that only when you see all the mothers standing outside schools
No, mothers just
and
stand.
exchanging notes.
But yeah, but the main focus is like how much did they learn, what is their marks, what is their grades.
Yeah.
But when should a mother or a father focus on the holistic growth of a child? How do they think of it?
I think it's forever. It has to be right from the beginning, because if we are going to miss a few steps at one point of time, we will have to deal with it a little later in life. So it's very, very important to have that kind of a process and a structured approach. Yes, you're right. There are lots of schools now which are going eco-friendly, which are going nature, this one. And parents have not got used to the idea yet. They are still very afraid. What do you think will happen when they reach the 9th? What will happen when they reach their 10th?
Right.
If I have to give you a very small example, I think this was one case that I took up long back. There were many schools which would always say that in their kindergarten, they must teach children cursive handwriting. Okay? The question I would ask them is, really, why cursive writing? So they'll say, 1, speed. Okay. 2, it is legible, people can read. 3, when they really go to higher classes, their handwriting itself will fetch them marks.
My God, okay.
So I'll say, great. So that's what you believe, right? But do you think it's only the handwriting that gives speed, or is there something else too? See, obviously they have to think through. They have to know their subject. They have to think through the questions. They have to apply. Only then they'll have to. Exactly. So when your child is in kindergarten, he or she is very capable of thinking, but his fingers have not become strong enough to take up cursive writing.
Okay.
There is still eye-hand coordination that's happening. There is still strengthening of the muscle that is happening. There's still a lot of games in play that they have to do in order to strengthen their muscles. They need to think through and put it into words. So what actually happens with people who are only focusing on writing, because that's the only way they can prove to the world that the child has actually learned something, they start focusing or skewing their entire process towards writing.
Right.
Forgetting completely that thinking, which is an attribute that comes to them with less effort, is something that you're completely curbing. And the child is also developing either an aversion to school, or just because has mastered this skill and dexterity with the fingers, is able to survive and sail through. So when I expressed this and I said, give them time to think here, and then by the time they're in standard 2, just give them a cursive handwriting book, and you see within no time their handwriting can shift, and it's so much easier. There were many who understood that and went to that shift. But for this, you need constant education. Many of us are very stuck in the conditioned thought processes that we have. So education and education alone